It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
It is that time, ladies and gentlemen. It is the greatest one of the greatest weeks of the entire year. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation. Here in Wichita, Kansas on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on a pre-election Monday. That right there by itself alone should get you pumped up, ready to go. The adrenaline running a little bit, the excitement, feeling all giddy inside. It's that time of year.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
And that's what I'm talking about. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, we have a really big show for you today. We have a lot of, here's what we do. This is election time today and tomorrow. Election special coverage. Here's the way we roll as we go into election day, is that today and tomorrow, any candidate of any race is open to call into the program. They can call in on a whim. They do not have to be scheduled. It does not have to be locked into a certain time. All you have to do is call in. Or, by the way, if you're a voter as well, you voted maybe already, or you're ready for the election, you want to let us know who you're supporting, why you're supporting that candidate. It is open lines for the next 2 days when it comes to election time. Now, we have about 3 different candidates that are already going to be on the program today, or 3 different individuals talking about the races. We do have some candidates on. Congressman Ron Estes will be with us at about 7:20 today. At 7:30, we're going to be having Stephen Owens. He's from House District number 74, as he is one of the conservatives running against one of the quote-unquote moderate, more centralized Republicans in the House race for District number 74. So we'll chat with him. Also, in the 8 o'clock hour, Dan Hawkins will be joining us, chatting about the insurance commissioner's race as well. So we have already those, but it is open lines for any candidate at any time. It could be county commission, it could be some of the House races, could be the governor's race. Does not matter. You're more than welcome to call in at 316-721-8255. And this is really how you do it. I mean, obviously, you tell us about how the campaign's going for the last day, and you remind everybody to get the voice out, get out, and go and vote. That's going to be the excitement today. That's going to be what the focus is, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it today. 316-721-8255. There's a lot of big news to get to today. As always, everything always happens over the weekend, and we'll have some fun with it. There's the latest governor's poll as we go into this race this week. The latest governor's poll, new statewide poll, of the Republican primary race for governor revealed Friday, contested that it will be a photo finish between Governor Jeff Colyer and Secretary of State Chris Kobach. The snapshot of opinion among likely GOP voters disclosed that Kobach and Colyer were tied at 32%. Former Senator Jim Barnett snagged 13% of the insurance commissioner, Ken Seltzer, followed up with 9%. Trio of candidates, Patrick Kucera, high school student, Tyler Ruzick, high school student, and Joseph Tutera Jr., high school student, were all at 1%. Now, here's the kicker, and this is what I don't get. The survey conducted Thursday showed that 11% remained undecided. When the uncommitted were asked where they were leaning, Colyer was taking 18%, Kobach 13%, Barnett 7%, and Seltzer at 6%. So Colyer is actually up a little bit when it comes to the undecided. And here's my big question for you. This is what I don't understand. I don't know why people wait till the last minute and say, I'm undecided. I just don't know. If you follow politics, if you follow the race, if you follow the candidates in any way, shape, or form, you probably have a really good idea of what they stand for and what they support. Just my thoughts. If you've actually listened to the candidate more so than just a TV ad, if you've seen them on the campaign trail, if you know their work, because, I mean, obviously, if you're going to the voting booth, hopefully you've been somewhat engaged and active enough to understand what their voting record looks like, what their big issues actually are, that they focus on, that they actually care about these things. They actually care. They actually, pay attention to what these candidates are doing. And my question is, do you think that it's almost a show? Do you think that it's almost an attention-seeking mentality when you say that you're a day away from the election and you're an undecided voter? Is it almost like just seeking attention? Kind of like how the young kids today, the young generation, it's all about the attention, all about them. That's why they're taking selfies of themselves doing absolutely nothing, because they want everybody to be focused on them. Is that the kind of mentality that we're living under right now? 11%, I'm undecided. I don't know who I'm going to support. You're a day away from the election. These guys have been campaigning since the beginning of the year, and you don't know who you're going to vote for. Now, if you're a non-engaged, distant type of voter, then maybe I understand, and I really hope that you don't show up and vote then, because I don't want you canceling out somebody's vote one way or another, depending on whoever you vote for, because you have no idea who you're supporting, you have no idea why you're supporting them, and you just kind of go in and just do a quick, close your eyes and point, and whichever one it lands on is the one that you're going to vote for. That is dangerous to our, not democracy, but to our republic, to who's actually representing us in government. If you're actually somewhat engaged, then the question I have for you is, are you still undecided, and why are you still undecided after months and months of campaigning, after one day up to the election now? Why would you still be undecided with one more day to go? 316-721-8255. But it is crazy. We are down to the neck of it, and 32% tied with Governor Jeff Collier and Secretary of State Chris Kobach, according to this statewide poll. And with the undecideds, many of them leaning towards Governor Collier, some leaning towards Chris Kobach. Why do you think it is? Who would you support right now? I know we've done the Voice of Reason poll a couple of times on the show with your thoughts on the race, but now that it's down to it, has your mind changed at all? And who are you going to be supporting? Because this is going to be the big one to carry us into a general election where predominantly Republicans will not win this, with about the last 20 years of going back and forth between Republican and Democrats every 8 years. Is it important for us to get the right candidate to think about the general? Are we concerned and have to move more towards the center like the Republican Party loves to do? Do we stay staunch with one certain group or another, or one certain candidate or another with their, some say, fringe ideologies? What's the best way for us to carry ourselves through the primary and into the general election against a Democrat come November? 316-721-8255. We do have some calls lining up, so let's get right to you this morning as we talk about Election Day tomorrow. It's going to be a heck of a time. Let's go to line number one. Good morning. What's your name?
I'm Mike.
Hey, good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm delighted, except I'm mystified.
Okay.
Who in the heck is Hugh Nix? I've never heard of him. I live here. I don't know who he is, and all of a sudden I've been bombarded with all these campaign ads and flyers, and
Sure.
I even had a phone call on my cell phone yesterday from, it said Stafford, Kansas, and so I answered it. Normally I don't answer because, but it said Stafford. I know some people in Stafford also.
Sure.
And it was an actual person, not a robocall, and it was a phone call for Hugh Nix.
For Hugh Nix.
And
Very interesting.
And they said, "Who are you people?" I said, "I've never heard of him." I said,
what was their response?
"Oh, well, we'll note that."
Okay. We'll take a note of that and pass it along. Sure.
I said, "Is he a Democrat that a bot that's been put in this campaign to undermine Renzel?" I mean, I'm going to vote for Renzel.
Sure.
But I want to know who Hugh Nix is. There's no way in the world I would vote for someone like that I've never heard of, doesn't have a track record, and comes out of thin air. I think it's it almost sounds like a plot. I'm sorry, I'm not paranoid or anything, but my gosh, where did that guy come from?
It's a good question. I don't know. No, I don't live in that county commission district, so I haven't. I have no idea what his record is or what the ads have been looking like on the attack. I know that from what I've heard is that they have been pretty vicious attacking Commissioner Ranzau and trying to attack him for his record, for things that he said or whatever he's done. And it's been a pretty brutal kind of very attack ad style campaign that Hugh Nix has done. Now, I'm with you. I don't know much about Hugh Nix. We had Commissioner Ranzau on the show on Friday. I reached out to Hugh Nix and his campaign via social media, and I saw that they acknowledged my message that I had sent them. I did not get a response back, though, in order to try and get him on the show to talk a little bit. So take that as you will, but they did not come on. Commissioner Ranzau did, and I appreciate that very much. But not living in the district, I've not seen the attack ads per se, but I've heard that they have been pretty nasty.
Oh, they're awful. And I'm just almost beside myself thinking that there was a lot of money being put into this Hugh Nix campaign.
Sure.
For I don't know what reason. Why would you spend that much money? Those flyers cost a lot of money.
Sure.
Those phone calls cost a lot of money. Why would you be spending that much money on a commission seat? For God's sakes, there's something odd going on here. I don't like it. I'm really, as you can tell, I'm agitated about it.
Sure. Well, it makes sense. And it sounds like there's some type of agenda somewhere that they don't like what Commissioner Ranzau's done when it comes to whether it's the personality that he has, which I get. A lot of people may be turned off by the personality to some degree, whether it's the voting record that he has and not like the conservative values that he actually upholds. Whatever it may be, there's an agenda somewhere to where they do seem pretty desperate to try and get him removed, because I would say that there are, between him and County Commissioner Jim Howell, those are kind of the last two stronghold conservatives that are in there. Michael O'Donnell on occasion, but right now those are really the two conservatives, and they've been targeted pretty heavily when it came to primary and general election races, trying to get them off the board.
Yeah, you said an interesting thing there. You said personality, and I'm voting for Ranzau, even though I have met him in person. Mm-hmm. He has about a close to a zero personality as you can get. He's banal. He doesn't initiate conversation. He's just not a public speaker at all. But I don't mind that. I want.
But
his
he fights
politics.
for the right things, right?
He fights for the right things. He does the right thing. I appreciate that. I will always vote for him because of that.
Sure.
I didn't vote for him because he has a wonderful personality and a pretty picture in a flyer. He's not. He
sure.
isn't. He doesn't. And so therefore, that's why I'm so. Boy, I don't know.
Sure.
This election, there's a sea change in politics. And
sure.
And this is occurring at the lowest level, and it worries me.
That is very true. Last question before we let you go. The blue wave happening, do you think, or do you think we're going to see the red tsunami happen this year?
Oh, I think they're in for a shock. I don't think that there's going to be an upset with the liberal left. In fact, the longer Trump stays in office, the more it's cemented in.
Sure.
He's doing what he said he would do. He's doing a wonderful job. I wasn't for him when I started out. I was actually for Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was at that debate downtown when there were some people behind me stood up and were booing very loudly and rudely to Trump.
Sure.
And I didn't think at the time. I just glared at him. But I should have said something. But we don't behave like that. That's
right.
Not us. That's what the Democrats and the left do.
We definitely hold the higher class on that front.
Yeah. So I didn't vote for Trump then, but I am definitely for him now.
Very good. Mike, I appreciate the call, my friend. Go out and have some fun with Election Day, and I appreciate very much your words on the election, especially with that county commission race. You're right. It is a very heated race. It's gotten very personal and very nasty, it sounds like. Now, again, I don't live in that district, so I haven't seen the actual campaign ads or the mailers or the flyers or anything of that sort, but we do appreciate Commissioner Ranzau coming on the show Friday. I reached out to Hugh Nix. We sent them the offer to be able to come on the show and chat a little bit. We didn't get a response on there. Maybe they'll come on today or tomorrow. It is open for any of the candidates to jump on the program and actually chat about the race and what they want to do for the last day of, and remind everybody to get out and vote for them. So the offer is still welcome. They're more than welcome to come on the program and chat a little bit right here on The Voice of Reason. Let's go back to the phone, sneak in another one before a break. 22 minutes past the hour. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
White Trash.
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Hey, hi, Andy.
Good morning.
Good morning. You asked a question before your first caller about undecided voters.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't help but wonder if you'd have any listeners if there weren't undecided voters.
Well, and maybe, and that's why I reached out. If anybody is still an undecided voter, that I'd love to understand the reasoning why. I mean, I get that people want to make a good decision and they want to do their research and they want to find out who the best candidate's going to be, and that all makes sense to me. This has been going on since January, though. It is now August. If to me, if you haven't made up your mind, then either you don't care and you're not paying attention, or or you're looking for almost the attention of the candidates trying to focus on you, saying, oh, you're an undecided voter, let me help win you over, sort of thing. So it's almost, to me, either you're not informed and haven't been paying attention, or you're looking for the attention seeking from the candidates by saying that you're undecided a day from the election. I've never understood why people wait the day of or the day before to say, I don't know who I'm voting for. I just don't get it. You voted for last week? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. But I mean, I don't get it. And maybe I'm wrong. And if people are undecided, then I do want to hear from them. And it's not a knock on them. I just don't understand it, because we've been following the process for a really long time by now. Oh, and I think we lost him. I appreciate the call very much. To me, that if you've been following this to some degree in any way, shape, or form, you have an idea on who you're actually supporting as you go into the voting booth tomorrow. Got some more calls on the line. Don't go anywhere. We got to take a break. We'll get to you as soon as we come back on a Monday. It is pre-election Monday, baby. It's going to be a fun couple of days here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network.
29 minutes past the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to have a lot of fun talking to numerous different candidates today, which we will throughout the show today. It is open lines to any of them. Again, if you know a candidate that is running for any type of office and you want them to come on the show to do the last little plug, they can do so. It's all right. We'll have some fun with it. And do a little blurb to get out the vote. If you're an undecided voter on any of the races, I really want to hear from you today. No knocking. I'm not going to attack you or anything. I'm curious. Undecided. Why are we still undecided only a day before? The campaign's been going on for a long time, and we still haven't made up our minds. I find it very intriguing. It's like the Petri dish that we sit in there and just observe and watch because we're just curious. So what's going to happen? Bottom of the hour news coming up. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
If Andy drives you nuts,
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
let him know. Call the show, 721-8255. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Doing the thing, advancing conservatism on a daily basis. And oh, by the way, getting you ready for an election day coming up tomorrow. Election 2018. This is going to be probably one of the biggest elections in a very long time. Well, there is a shifting. There's a tide change. There is an opportunity for conservatism to really take hold. We felt for the longest time, if you remember, during the whole Barack Obama reign, There was a long time to where we felt like, I just don't know if we're going to be able to get conservatism back. I don't know whether we're going to be able to advance our agenda. We're going to get the economy going again. We're going to be able to limit the government. We're going to lower taxes. We're not going to have socialized medicine and all this other garbage. We just don't know what. It was just one hit after another, after another, after another. And we got fired up and frustrated enough to where we changed the status quo. We got Donald Trump into office. We ended up getting the what they like to call the bull in the china shop mentality, just to go in and wreck everything, start fighting the establishment. That's what happened. You and I showed up and we made that happen. Now we have that opportunity to where we're continuously moving that in the right direction and going further and further with it, which is a good thing. Let's take it to the next level. Yeah, we got the ball rolling. Now we have a lot of work to do because it's going to take a while in order for us to fight for the right agenda, or at least for the agenda to actually become fulfilled. And we're working on it, which is why, again, I do not see that blue wave. They think that it's just going to be the pendulum just back and forth. And, well, you did really well in 2016, but come 2018 now, the midterm election, the Democrats are going to come back. They're going to obstruct Trump. They're going to stop everything. The legislature is going to go more blue at the state levels. And then you're just not going to get anything you want. And I just don't see that happening. I really don't. We have more conservatives running in the state of Kansas than we've ever seen before. We have a lot of seats that are open right now for House seats that are moderate Republicans that are really not knowing how to campaign or how to counter some of these assaults and attacks on them because they've never had to deal with this before. They thought they could coast. They could just go about their business. They could say they're conservative, although they go in and vote for non-conservative issues. And now look at what's happening. Now they're being challenged. They're being challenged by serious candidates, and we have a really good opportunity to really change the tide a little bit in the state of Kansas. 316-721-8255. If you are still, again, if you are an unaffiliated voter or an undecided voter, the question is why? Why are you still undecided going into a day before the election? By the way, there is another study that says that unaffiliated voters are a large makeup in the state, to where you can still go and vote for Republican or Democrat in the primary if you are an unaffiliated voter. As long as you're a registered voter, then you can go the day of and you can choose which party that you want to vote for in the primary and actually do that. The Manhattan resident, they use this as an example during the Wichita Eagles story here, is trying to decide whether he'll show up to his polling place, choose a political party, and vote in the primary. It's an option that many Kansas voters who don't belong to either party are seriously considering. I didn't know you could do that. All you got to do is show up saying you're an unaffiliated voter, decide what party you want to vote for, and then you can actually vote. This is why we need closed primaries, in my opinion. I know that's kind of an unpopular stance to take, but sometimes you need a closed primary. If you are a registered Republican or a registered Democrat, that's when you vote in your primaries. If you are an unaffiliated voter, you can't, in my opinion, does more damage to the party, does more damage to the state, does more damage to the country, if we even want to put it that way as we go further on in the grander scale of things, to say that I'm an unaffiliated voter, I'm going to choose the day of, go and vote for whoever I want to. I'm going to help manipulate the Republican Party or the Democratic Party's candidates because I'm not affiliated with them, but I want to help choose their candidate. I don't like that idea. I really don't. But apparently you can do that in the state of Kansas when it comes to your primary vote. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones here. Line at number 3. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, good morning. It's Deacon.
Deacon, what's going on, sir?
It's a beautiful day out here, brother.
Living the dream every day.
Every day. I gotta share one with you. Buddy of mine on Facebook, he's a teacher, and he was posting this Mary Martha Good stuff and bad-mouthing my boy. And, I was like, how can you do this without laughing? And then a friend of his started saying how she supports Mary Martha Good and, how she thinks that raising taxes to, give more money to schools is a good idea. And she's like, oh yeah, and I'm a registered Democrat. I said, well, that makes sense.
Sure.
Because Mary Martha Good's a Democrat too. She's just, a Republican in name only.
Sure.
And I'm going, you can tell a lot by the people who support the candidate. The Democrats are all up in arms wanting to support Mary Martha Good. She's a great lady, nice lady, sweetheart of a lady. She's a liberal. We do not need more rhinos. We need to go ahead and like you said the other day, go rhino hunting.
That's
and,
right.
You know, put down the herd, brother.
See, well, and that's what we have to do. No, you're right. I mean, it really shows that if the majority of your support as a Republican is coming from Democrats, then you have to reevaluate and say, okay, you know what? I need to either change my party affiliation, which is going to affect me because I'm going to be now a Democrat as opposed to a Republican, and therefore probably not going to get as much support, or I'm going to stick as a Republican and change the tone of Republicanism that I actually support, and then you may lose the Democrat support, but you ran as a Republican. So my guess is that there are more Republicans in your district than there are Democrats. Just my guess is an observation. I could be wrong on that one, but that would be my assumption.
You know, and I'll be honest, at least with yourself. If you're going to be a Democrat, I'm about to say demon rat. Be a Democrat, you know? Just be honest, at least with yourself.
That makes sense. Why do you think that there are so many undecided voters the day before the election?
Because people don't pay attention.
That's just why they just don't pay attention?
Do not pay attention. You know, they listen to the mainstream media, and you know, they get all these mailers in the mail, and they haven't been paying attention for the last 2, 4, 6 years. They just, the election time's coming up. Oh, I better start paying attention now. No, now it's too late. You need to figure out what's been going on the entire time that person's been in office.
And that's the big question now. Exactly. And now that you are, some are paying attention, you know, and the fact that they haven't for the last, however many years, and now they're saying, oh, you know what, I guess I better start paying attention. There's a week out before the election, and they start paying attention now. Do you feel comfortable with the fact that they're going to go and cast a ballot for somebody when they don't know exactly what's going on because they haven't taken the time to research it? They just show up on election day and they realize that they better start paying attention to it 3 days out before the election. Do you feel comfortable with the fact that your vote could be canceled out by that lack of activism?
Absolutely not. I've got a friend of mine that, she's a friend of Mary Martha Good, and, I'm just glad that she's out of town on vacation this week because she would have canceled out my vote, and
Sure.
She doesn't have a clue what's going on.
It's concerning.
People need to be involved the entire time, or if they want to be on the sidelines, then be a cheerleader. Go sit over there, be a cheerleader. Don't jump in the game.
Sure. It's a great point. Deacon, I love it. Did you vote early, or are you going out on election day?
Brother, it's Christmas Day. I'm going on Christmas
See,
Day.
that's what I'm talking about right there. That's the way we roll. I love it. Deacon, appreciate the phone call very much, my friend. 316-721-8255. There it is. It's Christmas Day. We're making it happen. This is the Super Bowl right here. See, the good thing is, the beauty of this is that we get 2 Super Bowls. We get one for the primary and one for the general election. Sports side, they only get 1 Super Bowl, and they do it in their day, and then have people get excited, have people do the bust. We get to go on election day twice, and whatever happens the first time gets us fired up to go back to the second one and show up even more so. That's the excitement of this. I mean, we read the numbers last week, is that the early voting numbers for this election already are higher than 2010, are higher than 2014, are even higher than 2016 when it came to voter turnout for early voting. And by the way, for early voting that's predominantly very favorable to Democrats, where they show up en masse, we're still beating them 2-1, which means on election day, Republicans will show up 2-1 even to them. Now, I know that we're not going against Democrats at this time during the primary race, but it shows the activism and the energy coming from the Republican Party that we're going to show up en masse. We're going to support our candidates. We're going to get somebody going into the general election for all of these races, and then we're going to show up en masse again. Here's the kicker. Here's the big kicker of what we have to do is, as we go into the general election, with how heated and emotional these primary elections always are. We beat each other up. We jump into the boxing ring. We punch each other out. We get each other black eyes. That's what we do within the Republican primary. The next step after that is to pat each other on the back, buy each other a beer at the end of the day, and then go into the general election and rally together as a Republican Party. We cannot have people that say, you know what, I can't support that candidate. I'm done. I'm not showing up to the general because I don't like who ended up getting in there. I don't like the governor's candidate. I don't like the Secretary of State's candidate. I don't like the House of Representatives candidate. I'm just not going to show up because my candidate didn't win. See, that's how we end up losing elections. That's how we end up losing. If you remember Mitt Romney, 1 million Republican voters did not show up to vote for Mitt Romney. He could have won that race. They didn't like him. They didn't support him. They didn't think that he was going to best represent the Republican Party. They were not excited about showing up for Mitt Romney. They showed up during the primaries. He got the primary nomination, did not show up to the general election against Barack Obama. 1 million Republicans were no-shows. That is detrimental to an election process. That's the next step Republicans have to take, is that, remember, we're like the Vikings. We like to have a good brawl at the end of the day. We like to have our pint. We like to brawl in the pub, take it outside. We beat each other up to a pulp. But remember, at the end of the day, we're best friends. At the end of the day, we pat each other on the back and we defend each other to no ends when the real threat comes around, because we're doing nothing more than just horsing around. That's the way we are. Republican Party, we have that wide enough umbrella. We get the chance to beat each other up a little bit in the primaries. At the end of the day, regardless of what candidate goes in there, we support them. It's very troubling to me when Republican candidates say, you know what, I just can't support that candidate if they end up getting in there. Not to call anybody out, but one of the candidates running for a House seat in the area, and we've talked to him on the program, made comments during some of their public debates saying that if it was Chris Kobach or certain conservatives that end up getting the governorship nomination, as a Republican, they would not support them because they don't like them. And that's not Republicanism right there. We're brothers and sisters. We're a family. We disagree a lot internally, and we're like the Italian family. We yell, we scream, our voices raise, we start throwing each other, throwing mud at each other, yada, yada, yada. But anybody outside of the family messes with us and wait for the entire family to come down onto them. That's the way the Republican Party is. That's the way we need to be, and we cannot say, I don't like that candidate, I'm not showing up to the voting booth in November. It can't happen. We rally, we have some fun, we spar a little bit in the primaries, and then we rally together as the massive family that we are going into the general election. 316-721-8255, line number 1. Let's take another phone call here. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Richard.
Richard, good morning, sir. How are you?
Do not jinx this showing up and everybody for outdoing the Democrats 2-1, because people are going to say, well, they don't need my vote, so we don't want to go. We're not going to go. So don't jinx it that way. Everything else you said is spot on, except one thing.
What's that?
And that they're going to start bringing up this abortion and the pro-life. And I'm pro-life, but that's my choice.
Sure.
But I guarantee you, Neil Bort said it years ago, and you watch the races where it becomes about abortion, and the Republicans are going to lose every time, because 50%, it's okay. Whether your choice or not, you keep it your choice or not.
So you're saying trying not to bring up the social issues come election time, because that's going to hurt the Republicans one way or another.
I believe it will. I'm a firm believer in that.
Very interesting.
That the approach, like Michael Jordan says, it's a 50-50 deal. So you're going to make 50% of them mad. Well, if you can swing a few Democrats to vote the Republican way, being pro-life, I'm all about saying you're pro-life, but you got to remember that the one standing next to you might not feel the same way, or might feel that it's a woman's choice. But I'm pro-life, but I don't want to see it go away. It's a touchy subject, and my sister-in-law votes 100% pro-life. It doesn't matter what the candidate it stands for on the rest of it. It's just
that's her issue.
I'm one issue, and that's not a good fit. So
very interesting.
Everything else, just don't jinx it, because we're outnumbered.
That's right. We're outnumbered. And look, and we will always outnumber them. We just got to show up to the voting booth and actually make that happen. Richard, I appreciate that very much. You're right. We outnumber progressives and Democrats in Kansas 3-1, 4-1. We massively outnumber them. All we have to do is actually show up, which is why, again, the activism, the excitement, the energy that we built around this election, we're seeing the numbers turn out. We're seeing the people actually show up. We're seeing our numbers. We have to maintain that energy until November, and it's gonna be hurt a little bit. It always does right after the primary when the candidates end up winning or losing. And your candidate says, my candidate lost. I can't show up. I don't like this person, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to support them. And I'd rather for a Democrat to win, because I'd rather that Democrat win than my candidate not be in there and some other moderate or some fringe or some whatever candidate actually be in there. I don't like that. I'm just not going to show up. And a lot of people lose that excitement. And that's my encouragement, is let's not lose that, and let's be able to move forward with the excitement all the way until November. Now, as you mentioned, the social issues, there's a book that's very interesting called Reclaiming Conservatism, and it talks about that, where the Republican Party, in order to survive, they should stay away from social issues altogether. I disagree personally. I think that we need to address them. They're there. They're always going to be there, and unless we actually voice our opinion on them and we find the proper ways to argue the issue, then the progressives and the ones that are anti whatever we believe in those social issues will win, because we don't even show up to the debate. If we don't show up to the fight, how do we have a chance to actually win it? What I like to do, though, is instead of using religious arguments for those social issues, is to beat them at their own game when it comes to constitutional arguments. And that's the way I like to address those, so we still have a say in the fight. And I get what you're saying. I mean, that it's going to be very divisive within our party. Absolutely it is. And many candidates don't necessarily try and make that the focal point of their campaign. And I could go along with that, of saying, you know what, I believe in these issues, but it's not going to be the, vote for me because I'm pro-choice, and that's or pro-life, or whatever you believe in, and that's going to be my one main focal issue for the election time. I get that, but as for us just to not show up to the dialogue and discussion when it comes to social issues as a party, I think could be very, very damaging to us, because then they win and we didn't even get a fight or a say in the fight. And I don't like that aspect either. Appreciate the call very much, though, Richard. 316-721-8255. Got some more calls on the line. Stay here. We'll take a break and get to you as soon as we come back. Wrapping up hour number 1. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Mid-America Network.
Minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Let's sneak in some more phone calls before we wrap up hour number 1. 316-721-8255. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Good morning, Eddie. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I've been listening to this conversation on Commissioner Ranzau.
Yes.
And I have followed him for the past 7 years. You know, I watch every county commission meeting.
Yes,
now,
sir.
This is my opinion of the man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, he's a very hard individual. He's not a very likable individual, okay?
Okay.
He's very hard on his department heads, and he's not afraid to sometimes almost publicly say something almost negative about a department head, of course. And he doesn't play well with others. He speaks his mind. He believes that he is the county's savior, and but he does speak up for the little man. So, and he's not very popular at the courthouse from the people I've visited with. So, would I want him in my corner? If I really needed something, I would want the man in my corner. But there's a lot.
As you mentioned, I mean, he's a very tough individual, and he speaks his mind. And if whether it offends you or it doesn't offend you, whether you like it or not, he's going to say it, and that's just the way he is. And as you mentioned, Eddie, we're at the top of the hour here. Got to take a break, but I appreciate it. That is one thing that a lot of people may not care for, and it usually doesn't go well in politics, but yet he's been in there for a while, and he fights for conservative values. Appreciate that very much. Hour number 2 coming up. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps, because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 2 of The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, Channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on a Monday. That's right. It is a pre-election Monday, setting the tone, getting you pumped up and excited, ready to go for a whole nother week. And, oh, by the way, Election Day's tomorrow, which is like the greatest day of the entire year. Just saying.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, it is a beautiful Monday morning as we roll right along, doing the thing, advancing conservatism, having more fun than what we should every single day. Welcome in 316-721-TALK, 316-721, I almost forgot our phone number for a second, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join it. We have a lot of guests that are coming up today. This is the day, remember, it is open lines to candidates of any race, of any race, meaning election race, not skin color. Although, I mean, any skin-colored race can call in, too. It doesn't really matter to me in any way, shape, or form because we don't focus on that stuff. But any race or any candidate running for any position is able to call in today just on a whim and talk about the get out the vote, the importance of getting out the vote today. The early voting shows that people are actually interested in these races. Republicans are leading 2-1 in the early voting as of middle of last week. Maybe that's changed. Not quite sure. But we are beating records for the last 3 election cycles in the state of Kansas for early voter turnout, meaning that people are actually interested in these things. It's not just one of those where it's like, hey, there's an election. Oh, there's an election. I forgot to show up. No, people are actually interested in this. More so than what they usually are, which is a very, very good sign. Right now, for the governor's race, they are tied. Governor Collier and Chris Kobach, for the latest statewide poll that was released on Friday, tied at 32%, with 11% still undecided. And the undecideds, they said 18% going to Governor Jeff Collier, 16% going to Chris Kobach, and then a few trickling in for Ken Seltzer and for Jim Barnett. Kind of some really interesting numbers when it comes to this governor's race. So if you are undecided, I still want to hear from you why you're undecided only a day away from the election. You would think that after 8 months campaigning and listening to these candidates and listening to the ads and following them and going to the hopefully at least going to the town hall meetings, seeing all the yard signs, you'd be like, oh, hey, there's an election. I should figure out who to support. You would think that would happen. Doesn't always necessarily happen, apparently, but very interesting on that front. When we come back, also 20 minutes after, we'll be having Congressman Ron Estes on the show. He'll be talking to us about his race and the Ron M. Estes, to remind everybody that the M is not the ideal candidate, unless you actually want to support him. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I have yet to see any campaign tactic from Ron M. Estes. I've yet to hear anything, any kind of grassroots platform, any type of grassroots campaigning, any type of yard signs, nothing, while they talk about, it's some type of, grassroots campaign. And I've not seen anything on there. So I went to, by the way, trying to go to the Ron M. Estes website and trying to look for it, and I don't even see his website on anymore. Does he not have a website? Oh, here we go. RealRonEstes.com as we go, and there it is. Okay, one page. The real Ron Estes for U.S. Congress. Pledge to vote. Kansas 4th District deserves a leadership that listens, and that's why Ron M. Estes is the choice. Republicans across the district can support. Can the real Ron Estes count on your vote? And they have a poll here. I'm going to just say, I'm just wondering if it goes anywhere else, if maybe it takes you to a page after the poll. No, because then you sign up and it actually wants your info, personal info, and address and email and phone number to pledge to vote for the real Ron Estes. There's still no platform on his website. I find this very fascinating. I find this very interesting that there's still no platform for him in any way, shape, or form a day before the primary race, and there's not even a website with information, with pictures. They always had the happy little family pictures of them walking around and supporting the family and doing these. There's nothing. There's nothing. But yet you can go to the website and do the poll, and then you can send the personal information. Very intriguing when it comes to that race. 3-1. I don't know. To me, Obviously, it's paid for and supported by the progressives. They want to try and sabotage the election. They want to try and just catch it up a little bit. This is their way to do it, and it's pathetic. It's dirty politics. It's bad play when it comes to the game, and it's time for that kind of shenanigans to be put an end to, because there's no reason for that. If you want to put somebody in to run against that is a Democrat in, the sheep's clothing, then do that. But at least admit that you're going to be a Democrat and that you just want to stop the Republican conservative agenda. Just openly admit it. The reason you don't is because you realize you cannot get elected. It's because you realize there are not enough people supporting your liberal progressive agenda, so you have to do it in very dirty, sleazy ways. It's very pathetic, actually. And they say there's a blue wave coming, and they try and bring Bernie Sanders in, and they try and bring in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they try and rally all the progressives saying that they're going to win this election and that they're going to have this blue wave and that they're going to turn the state purple and all this big garbage that they talk about, when in reality the only way that they can win is if they lie to the American public and lie to the Kansas people and try and make you vote for somebody who we have no idea who they actually are. It's a very pathetic tactic, but I guess it's attempted to work at least. I'm not going to be brought down by things. I'm not going to be brought down. I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I'm a positive kind of guy, and these elections make me happy. It's sad when people try and play dirty, and it's just not going to work. It's really not going to work. We see the positive movement happening. We see the Donald Trump era happening, which is a good thing. We see conservatives actually flourishing because of the Donald Trump era right now, and we're going to ride that tsunami. We're going to see the red wave come in. We have at least 12 different seats where conservatives are challenging House incumbents in the state legislature to where we can actually really change the time. Imagine if we had 12 more Truth Caucus members in the state of Kansas that will fight the Supreme Court, that will lower your taxes, that will actually cut spending, that will do the dirty, hard things that need to be done that the incumbents said they would do for years now and have still yet to do. Try and change that. Try and shake it up. They always say, you go too conservative, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. There's a story I saw today about Chris Kobach. If Kobach gets the nomination for the Republicans, then the Democrats will win the general election because he's too extreme. This is the same stupid, ridiculous tactic that they use every single election cycle that say, if you go too far to the fringe, if you go too far wild on one side or another, then you're going to lose. And the Republicans, they always get scared, and they always go to the center, and they always try and appeal to the moderate Republicans or the moderate Democrats or the independents, and they always widen that umbrella and say, no, you know what, we got to go farther to the middle. Got to go farther to the middle. And I'm not saying the middle's bad right now, but I am saying that they don't even go to the middle. They go far to the left, and they try to appeal to Democrats, and they try to appeal to independents. And let me ask you something. When has that ever worked? In any way, shape, or form, it hasn't worked. Did it work for John McCain? Did it work for Mitt Romney? No. Embrace the platform of the Republican Party. Embrace the base of the Republican Party that is predominantly conservative, regardless of what candidate that may be. I'm not saying what candidate that is or what candidate that may be. You can decide for yourself. But embrace the base of the party. Do not throw away the base because you're scared in an election. Got some calls on the line before we take a break here. Let's go ahead and take some of those. 316-721-8255. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hello?
Hello. How we doing, Helen?
Well, you guessed squeaky me.
There you go. What's happening?
All right. Well, I see it as a big red warning flag when Bob Dole supports anybody. Because he's like my husband calls him a deep state progressive rhino, and he stabbed conservatives in the back for years.
Sure.
And if you're pro-life and everything, which is all good, if you're constitutional conservative, then he's going to be standing against you. He's for people that are lukewarm.
Sure. Well, and that's been his track record for a long time. So when he endorses somebody or he talks about a candidate, then you know that's where he's coming from that kind of side of the aisle.
Well, and if anybody's been paying any attention all these elections all these years, he keeps stabbing constitutional conservatives in the back. The Tea Party, conservatives, whatever. He stabbed us in the back so many times, he just can't be trusted. So anybody he supports, I can't trust.
Well, that's a really great point, Helen. I appreciate that very much. I mean, you're right. I mean, when you have endorsements by certain groups or certain PACs or certain individuals, and you know their stance, that really sets the tone for understanding who they're supporting and what that person's all about, with their voting record or with their stance on issues or with their moderacy or conservatism or liberalism or whatever aisle we're talking about. It really does set that tone. Helen, I appreciate it very much. Got to take a break. When we come back, Congressman Ron Estes will be joining us talking about that race when it comes to the 4th Congressional District. This is The Voice of Reason here on KQAM.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker KQAM.
3 minutes past the hour. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. We got a few minutes to the bottom of the hour. It's great to have you along today on a Monday, advancing conservatism on a daily basis without an apology. We don't need some kind of national, international tour apologizing for who we are, what we stand for. Thanks, Barack Obama. And on the line with us talking about election time, it is the pre-election Monday right here on The Voice of Reason. On the phone with us to talk about some of that and more from the 4th Congressional District, Congressman Ron Estes. Good morning, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Andy. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, we're living the dream. This is, Congressman, this is our Super Bowl. I am pumped up. I am excited. I am exhilarated. We have early voting turnout that is higher than what we've seen really over the last 8 years or so. We have about a 2-to-1 ratio with Republicans turning out to early voting than Democrats right now, at least from what we saw last week. To me, that shows that we are excited. We are energized. We are fired up. We're ready to go. And I think we're going to get some good turnout this week.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of important races to vote on tomorrow as people finish up. I guess you can go vote, advance vote today still through noon. But we want to focus on, where do we go with the state and from the governor's race standpoint, and where we go with the country from, the 4th Congressional District race or the 2nd District race for Clinton, replace Lynn Jenkins, and even up in Kansas City with Kevin Yoder's race there for the 3rd District. It just... the national media has been playing up for a year now how this so-called blue wave is going to take over all the country, and we're just not seeing it. We're starting to. The Republicans are getting fired up, getting engaged. The Democrats really were energized right after President Trump got elected, and we saw it in my special election race last year where they really came out. They turned out more than Republicans, but now we see how important it is, and Republicans are starting to turn out and vote for what we want for the country and not the socialism that Bernie Sanders and some of the Democrats want.
Well, it's very true. I mean, look, we showed up and we made Donald Trump president, which was kind of a big feat on its own. And now we're seeing the positive result of that. The economy is doing better than it has in a really long time. Low unemployment rate. He's done what he said he was going to do by beginning to repeal Obamacare, by moving the embassy to Jerusalem, by working with North Korea, by working with Russia, by doing these things that he said he was going to do. It's being done for the first time. I mean, politicians actually fulfilling what they said they were going to. Republicans are energized, and as you mentioned, the blue wave, I just don't see happening. I see more Republicans getting excited because we have an opportunity to fulfill the agenda that we've wanted to for a long time, as long as we just show up and actually make that happen.
That's right. We can't take it for granted. We've got to keep working. But you touched on an important thing is that we've got a president that's elected who's doing what he said he would do, and that's a key thing that. A lot of times politicians don't do that, and we need to make sure we get more of those folks elected. We certainly don't want the Democrats coming in with their lies and spin stories, and we should just keep talking about how great the regulatory reform has been, how great the economy is doing. We were over 4%, 4.1% last quarter for economic growth, and that's only the second time in 13 years we've done that, and it's only going to be more with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It's just the economy's taking off, and that's great for all of us.
It really is. Congressman Ron Estes, we got a few minutes here. I don't want to lose enough time on this, but your election, the primary, the Rep. Ron Estes on the ballot against the Ron M. Estes. I just went in the last break, and during that last segment, I went to Ron M. Estes' website. It is still one page. There's no platform. There's no happy-go-lucky pictures of him actually out door knocking, talking to people. There's nothing there. Hopefully people don't get confused the difference there, and they actually vote the right way when it comes to the ballot tomorrow.
Yeah, it really is one of those political dirty tricks that, actually Ron M. We say the M's for misleading, but he and his wife have been supporting one of the Democrats, and so they put his name on the ballot in order to confuse voters and create some confusion around that, and also distract us from talking about how positive things are going. So we're just trying to remind everybody that under state law, I'm being listed as Representative Ron Estes or Rep. Ron Estes, and he's being listed as Rep. Ron M. Estes. So we're telling people just remember the M's for misleading.
It's a really great way to remember that. I mean, because it can be very confusing, especially if you haven't paid attention or haven't been just as active or engaged lately, or you show up and you're just trying to fly through the ballot. It can be a quick one to miss there, and we need to remember exactly. Rep. Ron Estes. Your thoughts on, and we got about a minute and a half here, but your thoughts on the 2nd and the 3rd districts with Kevin Yoder's race, I know has been pretty heated, and the the Lynn Jenkins seat, the 2nd congressional district, to where the 7 Republicans really beat each other up quite a bit in this election. How do you think those are going to pan out?
Yeah, Kevin's he's got I think only one person challenged him in the primary, and then there's got a heated Democrat race over there. The Bernie Sanders left Wichita and went to Kansas City to campaign for one of those Democrats up there, so he's going to have a very tough race. Just a lot of folks don't know or don't remember that Hillary Clinton barely won that congressional district by a little over one percentage point in the presidential race. So, he'll have a battle all the way to November. On the 2nd district replacing Lynn Jenkins, it's kind of tough. We've got 7 candidates on the Republican side and campaigning hard, and so they're going to end up with probably less than 30% of the vote, whoever the winner is. And in the meantime, Paul Davis has been sitting back collecting money, and I'm sure whoever the winner is, he's going to come out just attacking them with all sorts of media lies and stories, and that's going to be a tough seat that we're going to have to work really hard to hold.
Sure, absolutely. Congressman Ron Estes, it's Rep. Ron Estes on the ballot. Don't forget that one, Congressman. Always great to talk to you, my friend. Good luck with the election tomorrow, and we'll be talking shortly afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Andy. And just to remind everybody, go out and vote.
Go out and vote. That's the way it is. That's Congressman Ron Estes. We'll take a break. When we come back, more candidates ready to join us here on the show. Stay tuned.
Don't take money, don't take fame.
Weeding through the fake news on a daily basis.
I hope now you boys see that this is totally serial.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Making it happen today on a Monday, kicking off a brand new week. It is pre-Election Day Monday. As we wake you up the right way, you can interpret that however you'd like to do so. It doesn't really matter. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK, 36 minutes past the hour. And I don't know if you did or not. We posted on social media last week the Republican House primaries. There are roughly about 12 that are hotly contested. I think there is a very strong chance some of them may flip in the primary from the incumbents that are maybe a little more on the moderacy side, that voted for the tax increases, that voted to allow the Supreme Court to continue to do what they do day in and day out. I also posted, by the way, on this spreadsheet, the Freedom Index score of these candidates, or these incumbents, the Freedom Index score based on their voting record, all of them, by the way, in the negatives, except for one of them, but many of them are in the negatives, which means that they voted for not so freedom favorable records, different policies. Tax increases, higher spending, higher control, higher regulation. That's what they voted for. And it's time for some of the Republicans to wake up and say, wait a second, we're going to challenge some of these candidates. And I think we are. There is more conservative challengers this year than we've seen in a really long time. And to talk about one of those races, we're excited to have him on the show from District Number 74, Don Schroeder being the incumbent right now from the Hillsborough, Heston, Halstead, Newton area, the conservative challenger in that race. On the line with us here, Stephen Owens with us. Stephen, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Hey, very well. I appreciate you coming on the show. It is the day before the election and a big primary challenge in this district for all of our listeners that are up in that area. How are you feeling right now for the race?
You know, I feel incredibly good. As we've been out, we've knocked every door in every town. We've re-knocked many of those doors. We've handed out, 5,000 plus door hangers. I mean, we've really been getting the word out that it's time to return the 74th to its conservative roots. It's time for people to have a choice in this district.
Mm-hmm. Talk about when you've knocked on those doors, and it's great. I mean, the grassroots campaigning is what wins elections, and we've talked about that. I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when she's been talking, she won that district in New York with 15,000 votes total because of grassroots campaigning, and I give her credit for actually understanding the importance of grassroots campaigning, which is what won that race. So what you guys have been doing with the door knocking that much is impressive. What's been the response from people? What's the issue that they've been concerned about? Are they happy to see a challenger? Are they happy to see the conservative movement growing again? What's been the response that you've seen?
I can't begin to explain how happy they are to see a challenger. You see, Representative Schroeder, and I tell everybody this because Don is a great individual. He truly is. The problem is his votes have definitely went far too left over the last few years. And Don hasn't had a competitor in nearly 10 years up here. So for 10 years, nobody has ran against him. Mm-hmm. So as I came along and I took Don out to breakfast last December, and I said, look, we're gonna challenge you. It's nothing personal. I just don't like the way that you vote. And sure. I think people are ready for a change. And so as we've been knocking on doors, people are so excited to have a challenger. The majority of people didn't even know who their current rep was. Wow. Because of the lack of campaigning that has happened over the last 10 years.
That is a little scary. I mean, if you don't even know who your representative is. So we're talking with Stephen Owens right now, a conservative candidate for District Number 74. Talk about yourself a little bit, your background, your story, and what led you up to this point to where you took him out to breakfast and said, you know what, I think we need a change and I'm going to run against you.
For my wife and I have been residents of Heston, Kansas for 21 years. We originally came up here, met in high school in Oklahoma. Came up here, both went to Bethel College and got married after our first year and made Heston our home. 21 years later, 3 kids, all 3 have attended Heston Public Schools. We think this community is fantastic. We think the 74th has been absolutely amazing place for us to build our family, for us to build our businesses, and we feel that it's time to give back. I've been thinking about this for many years. For 6 years, as a matter of fact, it's been on my mind as I've worked on bills that have been pro-business bills up in Topeka, and I've been involved. And as I have become increasingly frustrated, not only by the way the votes are going, but by the fact that nobody is stepping up to take a lead in this area. Nobody is stepping up to say, you know what, I believe that Kansas needs to return to its conservative roots. And so when I made this decision, my family made this decision, it was an all-in decision. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm involved in a number of different businesses, tremendous amount of entrepreneurship initiatives, very much believe that we need to rebuild Kansas from our base right here in Kansas. And Heston's a great example of that. And I know that we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I know that Heston is such a great example of where we can create jobs. There are 2 huge industries. 2 of the top 25 in the Wichita metro area are located in Heston, Kansas. Population, I believe, around 3,900 people, has 2 of the top 25 employers in the Wichita metro area. And they were started by single individuals with a dream, with an idea, and now they employ 1,500 to 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. That's what we need more of in Kansas.
It's a great opportunity. It's a great example to be able to show what opportunities that we do have in the state of Kansas. Is that kind of the platform that you've run on? What are the issues when you go and knock on the door and you've talked to individuals that you have focused on? Has it been the economic development and the job growth? Has it been the education side of it with schools? Has it been the tax rates and the Supreme Court? What's been the big issues that both you've heard from constituents and that you've really focused on in your campaign?
Taxes, 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 taxes. $1.2 billion tax increase, $800 million of increased spending, 8th highest sales tax in the country, 3rd highest food sales tax in the country. Taxes, taxes, tax. That is what we have heard time and time and time again, and people are tired of being taxed to death. You cannot tax a state into prosperity. It just doesn't work. And so people are ready to have Kansas hold the line and to truly work towards more efficiency within government. One of the statistics I heard not long ago was that Kansas is 3rd in the nation per capita for government employees. Mm-hmm. Why can't we get rid of some of those employees through attrition? If they retire, let's not replace them. Let's do more with less. There are ways that we can cut spending that aren't going to have a negative impact, and there are things that we can do to build the economy to lower that tax burden on everybody else. And so I transition the huge tax burden into changing our negative GDP growth here in Kansas into a positive one by focusing on entrepreneurship, by focusing on building businesses. I think it's pretty ludicrous that as a state, we're quick to jump on economic incentives to these huge businesses to locate jobs here in Kansas that have a 10 or 20 year, payback as far as a positive tax revenue situation goes. That's not the way that it's done. That's not the way that Kansas has become successful. It's through people that live here, that breathe here, and that build businesses right here. And those are the people that we have got to support. And we've got to create initiatives on a state level to be able to support those people and increase angel investing, create, cultures that help take people, these young students, that have great ideas and help foster those ideas and help them build businesses. That's where I come from.
Sure.
I've built a number of businesses over the years. I've been involved in technology, criminal defendant management. I've been involved in real estate. I'm involved in a number of different things, but now it's time for me to take some of that experience and transition it into working for the 74th.
Sure. We're talking with Stephen Owens, candidate for District Number 74 in the state House races. And what's the next step? If you end up getting into the seat and you end up going to Topeka, what's the first thing that we can do to start working on these taxes, as you mentioned? Is it lowering the sales tax? Is it starting to lower the income tax and going back towards that path to zero that was the quote-unquote conservative experiment under Governor Brownback? Is it the working on the budgetary process for as we're going into a 2-year budget cycle? What's the first step that we can take going into this new session?
I think that one of the things that just about everybody agrees that we need to work on is food sales tax and decreasing that, because that is something that's something that we can step towards that's incredibly beneficial to everyone across the board, and it's not such a huge bite that we risk making a mistake. That is something we can absolutely work towards. The path to zero, I firmly believe in. I truly, truly do, because so many other states have done it. And I don't understand why, as a legislature, we haven't stepped outside our own box and rethought the way that we do business. Why aren't we learning from Texas? Look at how crazy their economy is growing. Why haven't we learned from Florida and the things that they're doing and having zero state income tax? There's no reason that we can't rethink the way that our government operates by learning from other people and creating new initiatives.
Mm-hmm. We got just a few minutes left here with you, Stephen Owen, District Number 74. But how important is this election? We have right now, as I'm sure you've heard, and we've been talking on this, up to 12 different seats throughout the state right now that are being challenged with moderate, quote unquote, incumbent Republican candidates and conservative challengers that really could change the dynamic of the legislature coming in this year. We have a governorship where historically every 8 years we end up changing parties, Republican, Democrat, for the Republicans to show up, for the energy of the Republicans to show up and make their voice heard this election. How important is that going into the new session?
It's incredibly important. What we see is 2 years ago, we elected a president and President Trump that campaigned on putting America first. And it was That's exactly what he has done. Like it or not, the man has taken and he has put America first. And so many people realize that it's the conservative values that he has that has allowed America to see such tremendous growth, to see a rollback of regulation, to see a number of different things occur that are incredibly beneficial to the country. And so I think people are really feeling that, look, you know what? This is beginning to work on a national level. We can make it work on a Kansas level. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, we have 12 to 14 different races where we have the opportunity for conservativizm to really return to Topeka. And with that, we can affect a tremendous amount of change. We can hold the line on any additional tax increases. I'm one of the many that have signed the pledge never to increase taxes because it's not a tax issue. It's a spending issue. I know I sound like a broken record because about everybody that comes on this show says that. But the reality is it is the truth, right? And sometimes people don't like to hear the truth. They don't like to hear that hard message that we have to make hard decisions to make this state more efficient so that the middle class and all classes of people can grow and develop within this state. So I believe that this is an incredibly important election. And with the change that I firmly believe is coming, we're going to be able to really turn Kansas around and really see the economic growth. And that economic growth is going to benefit everyone.
Absolutely. Last question before we let you go, but we have a lot of listeners in that area: Heston, Halstead, Newton. that Hillsboro. That we're kind of on the fringe of our radius there, but we do have a lot of listeners in that area. Last message to all those listeners as you go into Election Day tomorrow.
I run on the platform, and I want everybody to take a minute and rethink Kansas. RethinkKansas.com is the platform that I am running on, because there's no reason why we have to keep doing business as usual. For 12 years now, in the 74th, we have had the same representative. It's the same business as usual. It is time to rethink Kansas, rethink our approach. Let's look outside the box. Let's look at other states. Let's look at what is working, and let's make that happen. So I'm incredibly excited for tomorrow. I'm incredibly excited to be able to represent this district and to be part of that change that is coming to Topeka, that drives down taxes, that builds this economy, and that helps us rethink our future.
There it is. Stephen Owens, District Number 74. Good luck to you, my friend. Election Day right around the corner. It is kind of our Super Bowl, and we're excited about it. But we appreciate you coming on the show, and good luck to you in the primary tomorrow.
Hey, thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate all the work that you do.
Hey, appreciate it very much. There it is. Stephen Owens, District Number 74. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll take that, wrapping up hour number 2. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
7 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason, making it happen today. Thanks again to Stephen Owens, District Number 74, coming on the program in that last segment. Another one of those hotly contested primary races that's going to be happening tomorrow. Again, if you want that list of the conservative challengers in some of these House districts, you can go on to the Voice of Reason Facebook page, and that's on there. And that way you can see the Freedom Index score of the incumbent Republican and the challenger in those races. This portion of The Voice of Reason brought to you by the AARP, whether it's the Fraud Watch Network, Retirement Calculator, getting involved in the community. Check out the AARP at aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. Marin Turner on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Marin. How are you today?
Good morning, Andy. How are you?
I am living the dream. I tell you what, election time is kind of my Super Bowl. I dig this. Tomorrow is the day, and I'm ready to go. It should be a fun one.
Oh, it should be a fun one, and I hope everyone gets out and votes.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's going on with the AARP? I know you guys have been working on some of the fraud with the Medicare cards. Have you heard any news on that? Maybe it's kind of died down a little bit at all?
Well, I haven't heard anything that's recent, but unfortunately, fraud never sleeps, so we have to be very vigilant. I hope people will log on and join our Fraud Watch network to keep up to date.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You guys have been working on some different classes, online classes, to help people understand both the fraud side of it, but then just learning different tools and resources that they can go online with as well. What's the latest that you guys have been working on?
Well, we're offering a live online interactive workshop on August 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. It is entitled Sharpening Your Networking and Interview Skills.
Okay.
It is something that's based on our popular in-person workshop, and it is very useful for anybody who's looking for a job and you want to sharpen your networking and interviewing skills. You'll learn how to use contacts to find a better job, how to promote your best qualities, and tips to ace your interview and handle tough questions. So we hope that people will log on to www.aarp.org/KS and register for this free online workshop. Again, that's going to be on Tuesday, the 28th of August from 6 to 7 p.m., and you don't have to be a member.
Very good. And I tell you what, even people that may have a job or that may be looking for a job already and think they know how to form their resume properly, how to do the interview process, it's always good maybe to hone those skills, as you mentioned, a little bit more and just practice. Practice makes perfect all the time, obviously, and just you never know. There will be that one interview and that one question where they'll catch you up. You're not sure how to answer, and that could be the make or break for the job application.
Absolutely. And so you'll get some tips on how to handle that. You know, once you register, you can also, the workshop will be online and available by demand, and you can download all of the resources so that you have those with you in case you don't remember everything that you learned in the workshop. So this is going to be a really great one that I think is useful for a lot of people.
Absolutely. How many is it going to be open to infinite amount of people? Is there going to be a cap on how many people can sign up for this online class? What's the details there?
No, we don't have a cap. We the workshop is wide open for anyone who'd like to participate, but you do have to register in order to get the details on how to participate.
Very good. I love it. One more time, how can people go online and register for that class?
People can go online at www.aarp.org/KS or call us at 866-448-3619 to learn more about this workshop and some of the other things that we have going on in Wichita this month.
Sure, absolutely. Is there a deadline on when they have to register?
There's no deadline, but I would encourage registration within the next week.
Sure, absolutely. Get in there soon and be able to lock in your slot there. The AARP, check them out, aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. Marin, always a pleasure to talk to you. Happy Election Day, and we'll chat with you again next Monday.
Happy Election Day. Thank you, Andy.
There we are. Appreciate it very much. That's Marin Turner with the AARP. Go check them out, aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. It's Election Day. To me, again, it's Christmas Day. It's the holiday. You wake up in the morning, you go and vote, you get a little gift with the I voted sticker. I mean, there's a whole atmosphere around it. We'll be doing, by the way, some coverage here on KQAM in the evening tomorrow night. We do have the NBC baseball tournament. We will be broadcasting at 7 p.m., but along with that, in between the breaks and the innings, we'll be doing some election updates for you throughout the night as the election results come in. It's going to be important. It's going to be big, and we'll have some fun with it. Wrapping up hour number 2. When we come back, hour number 3, State Representative Dan Hawkins is going to be chatting with us about some races and the insurance commissioner's race, something we haven't spent a lot of time on, the importance of that seat. When we come back, hour number 3, this is The Voice of Reason on KQAM. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
I mean, if he's a socialist, then being a civil rights attorney, being a lawyer, every bit of money that he brings in, he should probably donate. I mean, like all of it. He doesn't deserve any. He should be back to that level again, right? Because there are people that live at that level, and that's unfortunate for them. He should probably be living on food stamps because all the revenue and profits that he generates from his legal services, he should probably donate and give to somebody else.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again.
That's the way we roll.
Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about? Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 3. The Voice of Reason broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. Simulcasting on TV as well, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today. 8 minutes past the hour on a pre-election Monday. Yeah, that's right. Setting the tone, getting you pumped up, ready to go not only for today, but for the entire week. Getting you ready for the greatest election, our Super Bowl, baby. Making it happen today at the beginning of the week.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
That's what I'm talking about. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, here's how it works again for today and tomorrow. Being election time, any candidate of any race can call into the show and talk about the Get Out the Vote and their platform for the last minute going into the race. We have a lot more signed up for tomorrow coming on. It's not necessarily a certain time, but just calling into the program saying that they will. But any race, whether it's the county commission race again, whether it's the state house races, whether it's the insurance commissioner, whether it's the judges, whether it's whatever it may be, they can call in. And they can talk about their platform last minute going into this race. It is an open forum. It is an open platform for any of these candidates. We do have candidate in studio as well, talking about your race and other races as well. But we do have State Representative Dan Hawkins with us here for a little bit. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Andy. How you doing?
It's great to have you in studio. It's the race. It's just election season. Don't you feel it's almost like Christmas time for us?
You know, I've noticed that you're pretty happy and you're excited. You know, for me, I'm starting to get a little bit tired. It's been a grind, but we're almost there. So tomorrow's the big day. I hope everybody gets out to vote. This is the most important thing you can do as a citizen of the United States and the state of Kansas is to vote.
That's what I'm talking about. And this race, I think, is a little more hyped up and is more important than what we've seen in a while. We have a governorship that could swing one way or another. Historically, after the 8 years, it goes back to the Democrats. Can the Republicans actually maintain this? Are we going to go a little more conservative in the state legislature because we've kind of ran into a glass ceiling right now when it comes to the taxes and the Supreme Court and the spending and all that jazz? We could see some really drastic changes in this race.
This is a pivotal race. So you're right. The governor's race is razor thin. It's really just tied up. So guess what?
Latest poll shows tied at 32 for Kobach and Collier.
Absolutely. Tomorrow's the day. I think all of us who are actively watching this will be glued to the TV tomorrow evening. But you're right. In the state house, all of us are up for election. There's 17 districts that we have an opportunity to move from maybe a little bit more moderate to liberal to the conservative side. So that would be a nice thing to have happen.
Boy, wouldn't that be
We
nice.
really lost ground in 2016. We were decimated. We lost a lot of ground. So this year, when we were having our conservative votes, the votes where you could count on conservatives being there, the number is 40.
Sure.
Sometimes 41, 42, but the number was 40. We want to get back up to 50, 52, 53, somewhere in there. That'll change the complexion.
It really does. I mean, the fact that there are 85 Republicans in the House of Representatives, anyways, and we can only get about 40 to 42 that actually vote for really the Republican platform. That's a little troubling to me.
It is. It's troubling and it's frustrating for us because we're trying to move that needle, and in the way the legislature is right now. Pretty much the moderates with the Democrats can block anything they want to block.
Sure.
We get to that 50, 52, 53 level, that really gets us back more on solid ground. But 63, 21, and 1 is the numbers in Topeka. That's what it takes to pass any bill.
Wow. Well, and it's going to take a while to be able to get back up there. We have some calls on the line as well. Stay tuned. I want to get to you guys as well. There's a lot of calls been coming in this morning because people, I think, really are energized. We've seen some of the early voting turnout for this election as of mid last week, and better numbers than 2010, better numbers than 2014, better numbers than even 2016 in early voter turnout. Republicans 2-1. I don't know where the blue wave's coming from, what they're talking about, because early voting predominantly favors the Democrats very much so, but we're turning out in mass, and I think people are realizing the opportunity that we have here.
No, it's very true. It's interesting that 3 weeks ago, they were talking about this was going to be a low voter turnout, and within the last week, all of a sudden, it's boomed.
There it is.
The amount of people that are going to the polls early in person is up to the level of 2010, probably.
Sure.
So we hope that bodes well for us.
I would think so. I would think so. Talk about your district. Where's it located, and talk about your primary race.
Well, Andy, my primary, I have a gentleman that's running against me, but he never really showed, which is not a bad thing to have happen. My district is the 100th district. It's from Maple in Wichita to 37th Street North, Mays to Tyler.
Okay.
And then from 13th Street to 29th Street North, Tyler to Ridge Road, and then I've got 1 square mile on the west side of Mays from 29th to 37th. So
very good.
That's a low population, a lot of farm ground there.
Sure. So we're just right on the across the street from your district here.
I'm just a mile from my district right here. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Very good. How's the campaign been going so far for the primary?
Campaign's going excellent. It's given me a chance to go out and talk to the people. I've been walking door to door, and people say, "Why are you doing that? Your guy's not showing up." Doesn't make any difference. I really still need to get out there and talk to my constituents, which I have.
Sure.
The reception's been great. We've talked about the issues, what's important to them. There's certain things that I ask because I want to know how they're feeling, and things are really kind of going well. So I anticipate I should win this race.
It should be able to win that one.
Yeah.
Well, good. And you know what, the grassroots campaigning is always important, even if it's not necessarily to campaign, but just to talk, as you mentioned, to the constituents, get the feel for what's going on, remind them who you are, that sort of thing. And it's really good just to see something like that.
Absolutely. And people are astonished sometimes when you come to the door. And I also do a lot of calling during the session. When I have a constituent that sends me an email, I'll call them because I'd rather call and talk to them personally than type something back that's rather impersonal. And it blows them away when I call them. They'll say, I never had a representative call me. Good. And so, I think that's the thing that is probably the most important, is that personal touch when you're talking to your constituents. Mm-hmm. So, I'm doing it all the time.
Absolutely. Well, good. There's a lot of races that we could talk about. We could go on all day long talking about a lot of these, but one of the bigger races that I haven't really focused a lot of attention on either is, of course, the insurance commissioner's race. And Ken Seltzer running for governor right now. That seat is open. Talk about the importance of that seat, because they do a lot of work.
Absolutely. And of course, Sandy, the insurance commissioner's race is near and dear to my heart because that's my industry. I've been in the industry for 25 years.
Okay.
Ken has been a great commissioner. He's done very well, but, he decided to run for the governorship. Not going quite so well for him there, but tomorrow we'll see how that ends up too. But the insurance commissioner race really determines some of the markets and what happens to the pricing and everything that goes on in the insurance business in our state.
Sure.
And in fact, what the law says is, it says insurance commissioners shall be well versed and experienced in the insurance industry. That's what it says.
Sure.
So, I've told a lot of people as we've went about this race this year, if you're a CEO of a company, and you're or not a CEO but a board member of a company, and you're getting ready to hire a CEO, you're going to go out and find the best person you can for your position.
Right.
And you're going to look for somebody that's in your industry, correct?
Sure. Exactly.
Sure, absolutely. So you're going to want somebody with experience, somebody with the temperament, with the understanding of the constituent issues, in this case, politically. But you want somebody that's going to do well for the insurance business and the consumers, which is all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a board member, I'm going to look for the best qualified candidate that I can. So in this race, we have 2 candidates.
Sure.
And they're about as far apart when it comes to experience as you can get.
Okay.
So we have Vicki Schmidt, who's a senator, sitting senator. Vicki Schmidt's a pharmacist by trade. That's what she's done all of her life, as a pharmacist. And she's been in the Senate. That's her experience. And then you have Clark Schultz. Clark Schultz is from Lindsborg. Clark Schultz is a guy who has been in the industry since 1999, so he's got a pretty good length of time in there. He's been a licensed insurance agent. He's been an auditor for insurance companies auditing their operations. Then, of course, he's been in the state house and the state senate. In the state house, he was the insurance chair, the committee chair for the insurance committee for 8 years.
Sure.
In the last 3.5 years, Ken Seltzer knew him to be a great person for the position and made him the assistant insurance commissioner for the last 3.5 years. So he's got 3.5 years experience inside the insurance commissioner's office.
Sure.
So you've got two people. Who do you hire? Do you hire a pharmacist to be an insurance commissioner, or do you hire the person who has all of the insurance experience? If I'm a board member and I'm looking at it from a fiduciary responsibility for my company, I hire the guy with the best, or the person with the best experience. That's Clark Schultz.
Sure.
Clark
now,
Schultz
this is going into the primary election,
this
too.
This is the primary.
This is the primary here. So we're even going to have a general election thereafter for the insurance commission as well.
Yeah, and there is a Democrat person somewhere up in the Northeast, maybe Johnson, Wyandotte County, somewhere up in there that's running. They'll be running on the Democrat side for the insurance commissioner, but this is for the primary for the Republican side.
Very good. Very good. Now, talk about, when you mention insurance, is it all different types of insurance as well? I mean, we're talking car insurance, we're talking health insurance. I mean,
absolutely,
it's all of this,
and it runs the gamut. So you've got very complex insurances out there. You've got the easy stuff: the car, the auto, the home, the life insurance. Health insurance is a very complex product. Workers' comp is a very complex product. All the commercial insurances are very complex, and you have to know what you're doing.
Sure.
All of those, if you put all those together, it takes a pretty darn good person to understand them all. And in fact, what you have is you have a person that has a general knowledge, and then you have people underneath them that have specific knowledge of each of those pieces.
Sure.
Clark has that general knowledge of the whole gamut. He's worked there. He understands the system. He's actually done a good job at tailoring the system to respond to consumers' needs. They have something like 21,000 calls in a year's time, and they were just named as the #1 state insurance regulator in the United States because of their ability to answer questions fast and accurately.
Sure.
That's a great deal. That's a testament to Clark Schultz and what he's done in that insurance office.
Well, and as you mentioned, I mean, it's such a complicated industry, and with especially with like healthcare being a lot of forefront when it comes to political discussions, and you see prices and you see the insurance premiums and you see all the debates that people go on. It's really important to have someone that actually knows how to handle a lot of those issues. Let's take a break real quick. I want to get back to this when we come back as well. Your thoughts and calls, 316-721-8255. Talking about the insurance commissioner's race, is that seat is open. Insurance Commissioner Ken Seltzer running for the governorship. That seat now being open, and the importance of who fills that one. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason on a pre-election Monday. Stay right here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes past the hour, making it happen today on a Monday morning, waking you up the right way. You can interpret that however you'd like to do so. 316-721-8255 here in another segment with State Representative Dan Hawkins talking about some of the elections and the insurance commissioner's race. We were just chatting off the air a little bit about the latest statewide poll. Not sure where this poll came from, but 11% of people undecided in many of these races. That one focusing on the governor's race, but I mean between judges and House races and insurance commissioner, and 11% undecided. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, there's got to be more ways to help get people engaged more to where they're not making a decision as they're walking to the voting booth and saying, oh, let's see what name I recognize or that I like, or which one looks really nice in order for me to push the button for. I just don't get that mentality.
You know, that's a tough one, Andy, and it's hard for us, too, as state reps. And, of course, we're out there going door-to-door daily talking to our constituents. And believe it or not, that's exactly what I've been finding out going door-to-door. After I get done talking about some of the issues, they'll say, we haven't figured out the governor's race, and so we'll talk about that for a little bit to try to help them.
Sure.
And then we'll launch into the Secretary of State and who we think, and then the insurance commissioner, treasurer's unopposed, so that's not an issue. But it's been amazing to me. The amount of people that have not made a decision
just
yet.
have not made a decision.
No.
You're a day out, and I lumped it up to either two things. Either one, you just don't care and you're not paying attention, or number two, you kind of like the attention you get at the end saying, I'm that undecided voter, come and win me over. And I bet that happens to a degree, doesn't it?
It does. It surely does. Because they're looking at those and making calls. There's phone banking going on right now.
Sure.
And so during that phone banking, they're identifying those undecided, and they're working to try to get them to move to their side.
Mm-hmm.
I got one 2 days ago.
Sure, that's crazy.
Yep.
Talking about the insurance commissioner's race again, I mean, talk about just the importance of that again. I mean, other than the fact that they oversee insurance in the state and us being compared to some of the other states. I mean, when it comes to the competition between health insurance markets and the markets that we're talking about with crossing state lines, and just how insurance works in Kansas compared to some of the other surrounding states.
So the states are the controllers of each state has an insurance department that controls their insurance system within their state. So the insurance commissioner is the person who his department decides rating, so rates. So each May, the insurance companies will, the health insurance that are on the exchange will make their requests for their rate increases. And a lot of times those are fairly high, and the insurance commissioner decides on how much they actually get. I remember that first or second year of the ACA, they came in asking for 45%, and Ken said no. 25% was the maximum he would give them. So we want a person in there that's really watching out for the consumers. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
There's also this ideology difference.
Sure.
And you have one candidate that really kind of comes from the ideology, more of a liberal ideology of would really like to see the ACA flourish and grow.
Sure.
And we have the other side, Clark Schultz, who really wants to contain that and to move back to a more normal market.
Sure.
And what does that bring with it? It brings more stable rates.
More stability, which is what we need. Clark Schultz, it's a race coming up for the insurance commissioner's race. It's going to be another fun one, and then going into the general there afterwards as well. State Representative Dan Hawkins, appreciate it very much, my friend.
Is it over?
It's all over. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
Wow, it went by really fast.
It flies right on by. We appreciate you coming in. Good luck with your race, and we definitely need to chat again soon.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Hey, always a pleasure. Bottom of the hour news is open line. See you when we come back as we wrap up today on pre-election Monday. This is The Voice of Reason.
When taxes go up, so do our tempers.
Oh my God, no!
Fighting for Kansans every day. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the program today on a Monday, which makes it all the more better, having more fun than what we should each and every day. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It is open lines to you for the last half hour of the program. The governor's race, of course, being kind of the big story of the day. Now, the media is reporting the polling to be tied at 32% and how it's going to be that close race all the way up to it. New Kansas poll, Kobach and Collier not at 32% with 11% undecided, 13% for Jim Barnett, and 9% at Ken Seltzer. Now, here's the crazy part of this. It doesn't say where the poll came from. It just says a statewide poll, which, of course, it shows that the media doesn't want you to know where the poll's coming from. From what it sounds like and from hearing the whispers internally from people reaching out, is that it is a poll coming from Governor Collier's campaign. And predominantly, if you know anything about politics, or if you don't, then here's a lesson for you. Coming from, you always got to look at the source. If it's coming from a certain side, then it's going to have a certain bias to it. If you have a poll from CNN or MSNBC, then it's going to have a poll that's predominantly leaning towards their type of supporters. Compared to if you have a poll coming from, say, Breitbart.com. then you're going to have a different type of bias in those polls. It's depending on where the source comes from. If you remember last week, there was a poll that came out from Chris Kobach's campaign that said that he was 9 points up. Now, it had like a 4-point margin in there, so it still may be close with a give or take error on there. But it was 9 points up for Chris Kobach. Now, this one coming from Governor Jeff Collier's campaign said that they're tied at 32 with 11% undecided. And those, by the way, the undecideds, according to this poll, would be 18% leaning towards Collier, 13% leaning towards Chris Kobach. If that's true, if that's a legit number, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting as we go into the governor's race tomorrow and what your thoughts are. If you are undecided, again, I still want to hear from you on your understanding why you're undecided. And then I'd love to hear from you as well if you have voted already or what your thoughts are going into tomorrow's elections, being the greatest day of the entire year. Let's go to the phones, get your phone calls for an open line for the last half hour. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hi, Andy.
Hey, Helen.
I'm calling back again. Sorry.
That's all right. What you got?
They're talking about, you guys were talking about insurance.
Yes.
And, okay, well, who has been the biggest profiter next to the government from Obamacare and this insurance thing? It's the insurance companies. Have you noticed how these insurance companies have originally were just like cars and homes and private personal property and stuff like that, but then they increase themselves to be over financial or were also covering health care and stuff. It's the insurance companies that are profiting from Obamacare other than the government.
Well, they did, but here's what they also did. This is the misconfusion that we have when we talk about the insurance and why a lot of the progressives say that the insurance companies are bad because they're all about the profit, not about the consumer, and look at what they're doing. You're right. Insurance companies are profiting more under Obamacare than when they were before Obamacare, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, there's less competition in the market, and when you don't have competition in the market, and you don't have 5 different companies trying to get your business, trying to get you to sign up for their insurance, that's what drives prices low. When you have low deductibles and you have low premiums, and then you get more stuff covered because they want the ultimate package to cover you, so you be an actual customer to them. And because of no competition, they can raise prices up to whatever they want to. They can jack up the rates. They can jack up the premiums. They can cover less from specialists. You can have a high deductible because there's no one challenging them and saying this is a really bad product and a really bad quality. I'm going to provide the consumer something better. So that's number one. Number 2, the reason they're profiting is because they now protect themselves. Because now we're covering individuals that historically did not have insurance before, or there's people that are really, really sick that use the insurance quite a bit, and they needed specialists, and they needed X, Y, and Z. Obamacare allowed them the option to not have to cover them. So now, for example, I mean, as you know, and I made this story very public on the show here, is that we just filed about a month or 2 ago, filed for bankruptcy because my wife had a lot of medical debt because she was really sick for a really long time. Knock on wood, she's getting better, and we haven't had an issue as of late, which is really good. But the reason we racked up that debt was because when this stuff took effect, the insurance companies first off, the premiums went up to where you pay more every month just to have the coverage. Then the deductible went up to where you have to pay more out of pocket before they even start covering it. But the crazy part of it was that they started covering less specialists. So when we went to a specialist to get tests done or an operation done or whatever, they didn't cover as much of that as what they used to because they didn't have to. When I went to the doctor and get a checkup, I said, "Oh, Andy, your levels are really low here. We need to do a blood test. But by the way, the insurance isn't going to cover it until you pay for the first blood draw, and then we come back and you pay for the second blood draw to prove that the issue is actually really an issue, and then they'll cover the prescription to cover the medicine to make it better. But you need to prove to the insurance company twice through 2 different blood tests in order to actually prove that you're really sick or that you have something going on." That's the type of stuff that Obamacare allowed to actually happen. That's why insurance is really up. That's why it's ridiculously expensive right now. And is the insurance company profiting? Sure, because they protected themselves, and now they kind of run the monopoly to allow themselves to set whatever rate they want to.
There you go. That's what it's called. That's called a monopoly.
Right.
And there's no capitalism. There's no fair competition.
Exactly. We talk about how to make insurance better, and they always say, well, look at this. The private insurance industry is screwing up. Look at this. We need to go to a government insurance or a government plan, and that's what caused the issue in the first place. Get the government out completely, create 5 new insurance companies in a market to be able to compete with rates, and guess what? Your deductible is going to go down, and you're going to cover less out of pocket. Your premiums are going to go down so you can actually afford to cover the insurance, and oh, by the way, they'll actually start covering the issues that need to be covered with people when they're sick, so they don't actually have to pay anything out of pocket because they're going to want your business, and that's just the way it's going to work.
And there we go with socialism, progressivism, and globalism.
There it is, right there. Helen, I love it. I appreciate it very much. No, you're absolutely right. And this is going to be a major discussion when it comes to these elections because we're setting the tone again, not only for the statewide races here, which is really important, and the insurance commissioner race, which is extremely important for us to set the rates for what insurance is going to look like here in the state of Kansas. But when we start talking about the national movements and what's going to happen nationally, we need to complete the repealing of Obamacare, get back to where we were before, and then we can go from there. But we need the complete, full-on, 100% repeal of Obamacare. 316-721-8255. Let's go back to the phones. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, it's Deacon.
Deacon, what's happening, sir?
Hey, man, I got 2 things real quick, and I'll just say them. You can, hang up on me. The first one is Kansas passed the slow down to get around law, which means that you have to slow down and quit endangering us trash guys out on the street. When we see us out working, you got to slow down and swing around and give us a little bit of room, so that way we don't keep getting killed out here. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And the second thing, I got to make one more last ditch effort to get people to show up for Will Carpenter because, Mary Martha Good, she votes with Democrats 88% of the time. She voted for the largest tax increase in the history of this state, made it retroactive for 6 months.
Sure.
She voted to infringe on the rights of American adults when it comes to their Second Amendment rights. So, if you want a conservative up there, you got to vote for Will Carpenter. If you want another rhino, keep Mary Martha Good in office.
You know what? There are, as we've been plugging and trying to push it, there are a lot of those races that do have that opportunity. And I think right now, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's the more engaged voter, whether it's the governor's race right now, whether we're actually doing something productive on the radio and actually getting the message out and people waking up and realizing this, that I don't think that a lot of these candidates that are incumbents, that have been there for a long time, that are predominantly more moderate or voted for these tax increases, that sort of thing, I don't think they were prepared for so many challengers in the primaries saying, wait a second, now you're finally being exposed for what you believe in and what you've been doing when you've told us that you were doing things differently, and now it's coming to fruition here. I don't think they were anticipating this kind of movement.
I don't think they were ready for the true conservatives and the real Republicans to step up and go, we've had enough of your garbage.
There it is. There it is, Deacon. I love it. Appreciate the call, my friend, very much so. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning. What's your name?
White Trash.
Hey, well, good morning, sir.
Hey, hi, Andy. Now, come on, Andy, admit it. Aren't you even just a little bit envious about Tom Papper's success in your field?
Well, Tom Papper, for those that don't know, KGPT TV ended up going down and sitting with Alex Jones with the InfoWars Network down in Austin for a day last week. Good for him. That was fantastic. It was great to see Kansas and Wichita be represented down there, and he did a phenomenal job.
That's all I got. Thanks, Andy.
Appreciate the phone call very much so. No, that was really good to see. I mean, Wichita representing down at InfoWars Studios down in Austin, Texas with Alex Jones and Tom Papper from KGPT TV being able to represent down there. I thought that was pretty cool. That was fantastic to watch him and did a very good job with that. Well done, sir, and appreciate that phone call. Take a break. 46 minutes past. We'll wrap up with a few more phone calls and wrap up the show today on a Monday. Now, tomorrow, what we will be doing is I put together all the montage of all the different races, from the governor's race to the judge's race to the House races. Now, I did not include the last couple House race candidates that we've had on Friday and today. We may try and include those, but it's already about 7-8 minutes long. I think it might be a little too long for that. But we put the montage of all the candidates together for Election Day. That's going to be the focus. It's still open to candidates to call into the show, either the end of the show today for the last few minutes or tomorrow for any race. Any candidate can jump on without even trying to schedule anything. Just call in and chat with us a little bit. We will be doing that tomorrow, but between that and playing the montages, tomorrow for Election Day is going to be a really special show. Really looking forward to it and hope everybody can tune in for it tomorrow. And let us know. One of the best things I love, too, is the callers calling in saying that they just walked out of the precinct, they just voted, and they got their sticker. I want to hear from all of you tomorrow morning when you vote, before you go to work, because it's that important, and we're going to make it happen. 47 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes to the top of the hour as we wrap up the program today on a pre-election Monday. Doing the thing, making it happen. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Advancing conservatism every single day. That's what we're all about, and we love doing it. 316-721-8255. If you do want to jump in for the last couple of minutes of the show, you're more than welcome to do so. Again, tomorrow on the program, it is open lines to any candidate. They can call in on a whim and just say, get out the vote. That's going to happen. We do have City Council member Brian Fry joining the program at his usual 7:30 time, talking about some of the city issues. But other than that, it is no special or a locked-in set guest for any time tomorrow, as we will be playing the montage that I put together for all the candidates. You can listen to what they've said on the program from all different types of races, judge races, House races, governor's races. And we'll play the audio clips from all of them. And then, of course, you, the caller, your thoughts on Election Day when you go and vote. Once you call me and say that you got that sticker shared onto the Facebook page with you and your sticker saying, I voted, it's going to be kind of important in that sense. 316-721-8255. We've talked about not only the poll when it came to the governor's race, which there are two polls floating around, one from Kobach's camp, one from Collier's camp. One of them saying they're tied, the other one saying that Kobach is 9 points up, that sort of thing. So there's two different polls floating around. The media is only reporting on one because I think they've decided what candidate that they would prefer, of course, which is kind of interesting. Not surprising, but it's interesting. And then we have the 11% that's undecided. And we have even a bigger margin of candidates or individuals that are unaffiliated. Unaffiliated voters make up 31% of all registered voters in the state of Kansas, about 558,000 of the 1.8 million registered voters. Kansas has more unaffiliated voters than Democrats, who number roughly 436,000 people. That's funny. That's probably the best part of that. They talk about this blue wave. They talk about the blue wave happening where we're going to see this state turn purple. You see Bernie Sanders come out. You see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez turning out, and they're going to change the deep red state of Kansas blue. You have more unaffiliated voters than you do actual Democrats. Now, unaffiliated can mean anything. It could mean that they just don't like the two-party system. That means that they could be voting third party like Libertarian. That means that they could really be Democrat or Republican. They just don't like to actually be associated with that. Here's the kicker, though, and this will be another discussion for another time. But under Kansas law, if you're an unaffiliated voter, meaning that you didn't choose a party when you registered to vote, but you're just registered that you can go and vote, you can still vote in the primary elections tomorrow. That's the crazy part, because remember, the primaries are the Republican Party putting on an election for Republican candidates, Democrat Party putting on an election for Democrat candidates, and then they choose their candidates, and then we go into the general election for November. But unaffiliated voters, you can still vote in the primary tomorrow if you are not a registered Republican or a registered Democrat. All you need to do is show up to your polling place on Election Day and declare a party. Hey, I'm a Republican today, baby. I'm going to vote for the Republican election. Hey, I'm a Democrat today. I'm going to vote for the Democratic race. Now, to me, that's troublesome, and I don't like that. I don't like that in any way, shape, or form, because you could have individuals that are very, very left-wing progressives that are unaffiliated because they don't like the Democrats because they're more the socialists. Maybe they associate with the Democratic Socialists of America sort of thing. But they say, you know what? I don't like a couple of the candidates on the Republican side, I'm going to go there as an unaffiliated voter. I'm going to declare a party there, and I'm going to vote for the most moderate candidate that I can on the Republican side to help screw up that election. Or let's say the other way. I'm a libertarian, and I don't like the Republican Party, but I really don't like some of the candidates on the Democrat side. I'm going to go as an unaffiliated voter. By the way, the 31% of registered voters in the state of Kansas. I'm going to show up on Election Day. I'm going to declare that I'm a Democrat. I'm going to vote in the Democratic primary, and I'm going to cancel out somebody's vote because I want to screw up their election. This, to me, is something that we need to clean up. You need to be a registered Republican or a registered Democrat in order to vote for the primary election in the state. That would be my take on it, because you have a lot of open room for people to manipulate your votes and a lot of opportunity for people to choose your candidate for you when you are an actual member of the party and they are not. To me, that's a problem. Another discussion for another day. Nothing we can obviously do about it for the primary election tomorrow, but something to be aware of. Something to consider. And how much of that, by the way, are being affected into the polling as well, regardless of what polling site that you're looking towards, whether it's a non-biased one, a non-partisan one, whether it's a Collier polling, whether it's a Kobach polling. How much of those say that they self-identify as one of the party members when they're not, and then end up swaying some of the election both that way. So it's really interesting to see, but unaffiliated makes up 31% of all Kansas voters in the state, and they are, by the way, more so than the Democrats in the state of Kansas. Tell me again where that blue wave's coming from. Tell me again how the blue wave is going to happen. They're going to sweep us. We're going to turn the state purple when we have more unaffiliated voters in the state of Kansas than we do even registered Democrats in the state of Kansas. Something that makes you go, on a Monday morning. Wrapping it up, it's Election Day tomorrow. We're going to have some fun with it on an open line politicking Election Tuesday. This is your show as always. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Have a great Monday, everyone.